Hey brothers and sisters, Steve Monette here with another video in my Bible Prophecy Bite series where we look at Bible scripture, history, and current events that all point to the soon return of Jesus the Messiah. Okay, so for today's video I'm going to talk about the coronavirus again. And this really is part 2 of a video series that I started yesterday where I posted, I guess, part 1. It was never really my intention to break this into multiple parts, but I think the situation and its recent developments do warrant a second part to this. And for those of you that did watch my video yesterday, I proposed the question: was this coronavirus pandemic the beginning of judgment on the world as a result of breaking the everlasting covenant via the Trump peace plan that was released on January 28th of this year, 2020? Now, we've had some very relevant developments over the past 24 hours that I think begin to answer that question, whether or not this is judgment on the world, okay? And I want to talk about those more specifically today. But before I go over them, I want to do a very quick moment to remind you that over the last 3 decades, whenever the USA proposed dividing the land of Israel in exchange for peace with the Palestinians, the USA suffered a major natural disaster. Now, this pattern was established starting in 1991 when we began to witness 10 consecutive peace proposals through many U.S. presidential administrations. And when those proposals were simply released to the public, a major natural disaster hit the USA, usually within 72 hours or less. Now, again, this happened 10 consecutive times. This was not just, something that happened by chance. This is documented and is strong evidence supporting this. However, interestingly, that pattern seemed to have been broken this year on January 28th of 2020 when the Trump peace plan was released. And yet what happened is that Trump proposed increasing the Palestinian landmass by 100%. Yet within 2 weeks after that release, the USA did not suffer a natural disaster of any kind. I think that has changed today. Last night, the President of the United States came on TV and made a travel declaration stopping all travel to and from Europe. Now, this is in addition to the travel ban that he imposed a few weeks ago that stopped travel to and from China. And then we also heard last night that the NBA has halted their basketball season effectively immediately. The NHL is also contemplating the same action. Major companies have shut down and are now telling their employees to work at home. Schools are shutting down now, and as such, parents are not working because many have to now stay home and watch their children. Household incomes will be severely affected by this event. We're also seeing airlines that are being hugely affected by this because with severe international travel bans in effect, sales and profits are obviously going to be down. Employee layoffs are coming very, very soon. In fact, we're already seeing that in Israel. Flow down sales and profits will also hit related firms that supply these airliners. And of course, we've seen the stock market has lost several $1 trillion in value just in the last few days alone, and there is no end in sight. The price of oil is falling dramatically, and many smaller oil producing and servicing firms will go bankrupt in the coming days and weeks because they cannot absorb that lower price per barrel of oil. This is just the beginning. And for their part in this abomination of a peace plan, Israel is suffering too. Their state airline, El Al, just laid off 75% of their staff and have requested a huge bailout from the Israeli government. So Israel will need to deal with a massive drop in tourism to their country, which is a primary source of income for them. And oh yeah, Israel still does not have a working government. So I'm going to propose the question again today. Is this coronavirus pandemic judgment on the world for breaking the everlasting covenant? Well, I think in light of developments over the last 24 hours, I think the answer is now obvious. Not only is the virus itself that is part of the judgment, it is really the economic destruction that is the judgment that has come upon us. And there is no end in sight, and there is no ability to stop it. The economic disaster will be far greater than the viral disaster. Will the virus virus pandemic blow itself out in the coming weeks and months? It's very possible, but only time will tell. But the economic disaster will be felt for several months thereafter. So instead of a natural disaster, the Lord has brought economic disaster upon the USA and the world. And it will be a far greater disaster than any natural disaster could inflict. The death toll will be in the thousands, and the economic destruction will be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So you see, natural disasters, especially the ones that have affected the USA relevant to the peace plan, have been very distinctive in their regional affections. The economic disaster, in this case, will affect every man, every woman, every child, and elderly of every age group, of every geographical section of the entire country, and pretty much every city and town in the USA. No region or age group or ethnicity will be spared by this economic disaster. At some point, it will touch every person in some way or another. Please don't say we didn't warn you. I and many others have been sounding this alarm for almost 2 years now. When Trump first announced that he wanted to propose peace with the Palestinians, we warned you, all of us warned you, that the Lord would react because it says it in His Word. We warned you not to divide the land of Israel. We warned you that the Lord has sent judgment 10 consecutive times when previous administrations do the same. But you didn't listen. The Bible tells us that the Lord will not be mocked. And the Lord told us in His Word not to divide the land of Israel and not to divide Jerusalem, which is the apple of His eye. Yet all these warnings were ignored. And now it is time for all to be held accountable. So keep in prayer, brothers and sisters. There's some very rocky times ahead, I'm afraid. But in the meantime, keep looking up, for our redemption draws near. Thanks for watching.